In 1982, Jack Heuer walked away from his family's century-old watchmaking dynasty with almost nothing. The name that helped define motorsport timing was gone. Understanding how Heuer lost everything starts with what once made it untouchable. Eduard Heuer set up his watchmaking workshop in Saint-Imier, Switzerland, in 1860, determined to master the science of precision. From the start, Heuer's reputation depended on accuracy. Early catalogs list chronographs built for railway and sports timing, not just for show, but as tools trusted by professionals. By 1882, the company had secured its first chronograph patent, and in 1887, the oscillating pinion design, a mechanism that still powers many chronographs today. The breakthrough came in 1916, when Charles August Heuer unveiled the micrograph, the world's first stopwatch able to measure to 1/100th of a second. This leap in timing made Heuer the go-to name for sports officials and Olympic timekeepers throughout the 1910s and the 1920s. For decades, precision wasn't a slogan. It was the foundation that set Heuer apart. Subscribe for more stories where heritage and history collide. Jack Heuer stepped into the family business as the fourth generation, but he didn't just inherit a legacy, he reinvented it. By 1962, he was running the show, and within a year, he introduced the Carrera. This wasn't just another chronograph. Named after the dangerous Carrera Panamericana road race, the Carrera was stripped down, legible, and built for the heat of motorsport. It became the wristwatch of choice for drivers who valued clarity at speed. The Autavia soon followed, its name a blend of automobile and aviation, and its function bridging the world of rally drivers and pilots. Both models transformed Heuer from a supplier of timing instruments into a brand with a real identity, one that lived on the wrists of racing legends. But Jack wasn't finished. In 1969, the Monaco exploded onto the scene with its radical square case and the world's first automatic chronograph movement, the caliber 11. The Monaco didn't just look modern, it felt like a leap into the future. When Steve McQueen wore it in the film Le Mans, the watch became more than a tool. It became a symbol. The Ferrari Formula One partnership in the early 1970s sealed Heuer's reputation, putting the brand's logo on the fastest cars and the wrists of world champions. For collectors, these years are the golden age, where technical credibility met cultural power, and the right provenance could turn a simple chronograph into a legend. Subscribe for more stories where heritage and heartbreak collide. In December 1969, Seiko released the Astron, the world's first quartz wristwatch. Suddenly, accuracy was no longer a luxury. Anyone could buy a watch that kept time to within 5 seconds a month. Quartz movements were cheap to produce, reliable, and needed almost no maintenance. For buyers, the choice became obvious. Why pay more for a mechanical chronograph when a quartz watch outperformed it for a fraction of the price? The Swiss watch industry, once a fortress, began to crumble. Factories shuttered across the Jura. By the early 1980s, the Swiss watchmaking workforce had dropped from about 90,000 to just 30,000. Brands that had built their names on engineering and tradition found those strengths suddenly irrelevant. Heuer, with its focus on mechanical chronographs, watched its core business evaporate. The market no longer cared about the old benchmarks. Every quarter brought new pressure, shrinking sales, layoffs, and the creeping sense that the golden age was over. Subscribe for more stories where innovation and heartbreak collide. December 1982. The Heuer name, carried by 4 generations, slipped from family hands in a single transaction. Piaget and Nouvelle Lemania stepped in as buyers, forming a consortium to take over what the family could no longer hold. The sale price was nominal, barely enough to cover debts, and Jack Heuer left the company he had led for 2 decades with almost nothing. For over 120 years, Heuer had been a family story, each chapter written by fathers, sons, and grandsons at the workbench and the boardroom table. Now, that lineage was severed. Jack Heuer's resignation closed the book on direct family control. The loss went deeper than balance sheets or branding. A name that once stood for invention and pride was now just an asset on someone else's ledger. The weight of that break still lingers in the collector world. Subscribe for more stories where legacy and loss change what we value. In 1985, Techniques d'Avant-Garde, a high-tech group known for its work in electronics and Formula One, acquired the company. With the deal, Heuer was renamed Tag Heuer. The old family name, once a signature of invention and pride, became part of a new corporate logo. The watches continued, but the meaning of the brand changed. Heuer was no longer a family's legacy. It was a badge for a business built to survive. The heritage remained on the dial, but now it stood for a different kind of story, one of survival through reinvention. Subscribe for more stories where history and value collide. In 1999, LVMH acquired Tag Heuer for around $740 million, betting on a legacy that once seemed finished. 2 years later, Jack Heuer returned as honorary chairman, a symbolic gesture that reconnected the brand to its roots. Then, in 2020, the Steve McQueen Monaco sold at auction for about $2.2 million, shattering records and confirming what collectors had long suspected. Provenance, scarcity, and cultural memory can outlast even the most dramatic business collapse. For those who study the market, the lesson is clear. Racing heritage, even when written off, can become a hidden reserve of value. Subscribe for more stories where past and present collide. Today, the Heuer name, once lost, fetches millions at auction. Proof that heritage discarded by business can become collector gold. In watchmaking, value never truly disappears. Subscribe for more stories like this.